All right, peace and love, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, please like and subscribe. And we're here today with our beloved sister Rose, and we're going to be talking about her experience and her journey with a silent fast. And there's
Yeah.
a saying that it is in silence that the soul speaks, which I've heard people say that a lot. And I believe that this is a clear example of the meaning of that phrase. And she's going to share with us her journey with her silent fast and the benefits and all the wonderful blessings that came along with it. So welcome, sister. How are you?
Thank you for the welcome, the warm welcome. I'm well. I'm well today. How are
Good,
you
good,
doing,
good.
sis?
I'm well. I'm well. Giving thanks on this Thursday. Thank you. Thank you for joining us too.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this experience.
Yes, yes. So I've heard of silent retreats, and I know people go to them, and I was considering it. So when you told me that you were going on a silent fast at home, I thought that was like so awesome because I've wanted to do that for a while,
Mhm.
and just trying to get my mind ready to like stop talking.
Yeah.
It would be a challenge. But I want to hear all about your experience with it. So, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself so our listening audience knows something about you?
Sure. So my name is Rose, and I have been on a healing journey.
Good,
Um,
thanks.
yeah, and it's been important for me. So I was asking a lot of people for advice and help.
Mhm,
And it just came clear to me one day. God was like, you need to be quiet, you need to
mhm.
be covered, and you need to listen more.
Mm,
And it was very clear. Um,
Ashe.
so that's what I did. And I knew it was coming. I think I got the message maybe like 3 or 4 days before I actually decided to begin that
Oh,
journey.
okay.
And I'm so glad I did. Actually, I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Oh,
It
wow.
wouldn't count as a. I'm sorry, so what'd you say?
No, I was gonna say, so you didn't hesitate. You got the message just a few days before you decided to undergo it. That's great.
I wouldn't say I hesitated. I definitely prepared my family. I'm a mother of 2 children. I have a partner. And so communication is constant in
Mhm,
those situations. And I prepared my family. And I was like, if you need me to say something, tell me now. Because I need to be silent
mhm.
for a while.
Mhm,
And, we're going to have to learn how to communicate without that. And
mhm.
surprisingly, they all were on board with it. The
That's
first day was a
wonderful.
little awkward, trying to figure out what is mommy saying, but after a while, and the other thing is I also teach my children sign language. So I was able to tap into some of the signs that they know to communicate.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
really, I was more so relying on energy,
Mm,
body language,
okay.
intentions. I was learning how to speak my intentions through energy. So
Wow, okay.
yeah, that was really amazing for me. And actually they were able to understand me very well. Um so I did my goal was 7 days. I
Mhm,
made it 5 days through, and then on the 5th day, I'll be honest, I got a little distracted.
mhm,
And so that the 5th day, the 6th day, the 7th day, I might have said like a couple of sentences throughout the day. Um
mhm.
So, but every time I spoke, I found myself saying, "Oh, I don't want to speak." I don't want
Mm,
to speak. So, in those 5th, 6th, and 7th days, those were the moments where I really was challenging my discipline, spiritual discipline, to actually follow through
mhm.
and listen and trust that everything I need to communicate, everything I need to say or do, can be done without words.
Mm.
So yeah,
Deep,
I give
okay.
thanks.
Give thanks for that. So, can you tell us what exactly is a silent fast? Like when you said, well, you answered some of that question in the statement you just made. So when you decide to go on a silent fast, you abstain from all verbal communication. Did you watch TV or listen to social media or anything like that?
So the first day, I hadn't actually consciously told myself, oh, no music, no TV, social media, nothing like that. But I found that the more quiet I became, the louder everything else became. And I
Mm,
didn't want to hear music. I didn't want to hear, definitely didn't want to hear TV. Um,
mhm.
and I just didn't want to hear much of anything. So I'd say the difference between a silent, or it's really not a silent fast, it's a talking fast
Talking fast.
versus a silent retreat. So I would say a silent retreat is more like where you go somewhere and everyone that's there is on the same page, that we're not talking. We are communicating in other ways, energetically, telepathically, spiritually. Some people choose to write, um,
Mhm.
but we're not going to use our words. So that's a silent retreat. A talking fast would be not talking for however long. And while not talking, figuring out other ways, not even really figuring out, allowing other ways to present themselves to communicate.
Mhm. Okay.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. And you said your family was on board. Did you go out in public at all during the time? And if you did, how did you manage not talking?
Yeah. So that was the other thing. The more silent I became, the less I wanted to interact with other people
Mm,
outside of the home, because I just felt like I was supposed to be silent and centered and just spending time with God. You know what I mean? Instead of like the
mhm,
distractions and the busyness and the chatter and everyone else's energy. So, um, my family was on board. Matter of fact, by the end of the fast, my daughter was like, I want to do it with you too. And she's only 6.
mhm,
She was really, really open to that. And I was like, wow, she liked to talk. But
mhm,
she was on board and she was seeing the value in it. And so that was really beautiful. And even my son, who was a baby, he was able to
mhm,
understand what mommy's saying, and we were able to communicate in that way. So when I went to go out in public for the first time, it was a little um, intimidating at first because I
mhm,
wasn't sure how I would be able to communicate. And surprisingly, everywhere I went, people accommodated me not talking. So like even checking out, like I think the first place I went was like, the store up the street. I
mhm,
had to, grab food or whatever I was grabbing. And the cash register, the lady that was checking me out, you know, I just said, "Mm, thank you."
mhm,
And she understood what I meant,
mhm,
you know? And so I was like, wow. And it just helped me realize. And there's a couple other instances where I was able to completely communicate what I needed to say, and I got everything I needed. I didn't miss anything. The world did not end because I wasn't speaking. I was still
mhm,
able to handle business. The one thing I did do to prepare, and I would say this to anyone that is considering a
mhm,
talking fast, is to reschedule anything that you can till after your fast is over. Because that was the other thing, like having meetings and things lined up during the
mhm.
fast, you're basically giving yourself a cheating moment from something you said you're fasting for. So,
Right.
if at all possible, reschedule anything that requires you to talk. So, yeah.
That's great. Okay, yeah, I would recommend that as well because you don't want the temptation there or things to interfere. So it's kind of like you had almost like you had a silent retreat, but within yourself. Instead of going away to have one, you just went within and had one, kind of.
Absolutely.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yes, I did. And so when I did that, I was able like so many things I was feeling confused about or
Mhm.
conflicted or like wasn't sure if, this was a voice of God or if this was just trauma. This was like like I was being confused in my mind. And once I slowed down, I stopped talking, it allowed me to stop thinking as much, right?
Mhm.
Because like when you're in conversation, you're typically thinking about your response. You're thinking about what you're going to say. You're thinking
Mhm.
about the communication or how they're communicating something versus just listening. You're
Mhm.
still receiving the information, but it's not listening to respond. It's just listening
Yes.
to understand. And that was a drastic change for me, because for me, like typically I like to keep the conversation going. If you're conversating with someone that you want to talk to, it's a back and forth kind of tendency.
Oops. Uh-oh. We had the tech gremlins. Had it again. Hopefully she will come back. We just had a little technical um difficulty. Peace and great blessing, Lonnie knows. Yes, silence terrifies a lot of people. Being still scared them too. Yes, I would agree because as a yoga teacher, a lot of people tell me that they don't know how to be still, and being still, they don't feel comfortable with it. And the part on yoga at the end where we sit and we lay and meditate, there are some people that say, I just can't do that. I don't like being quiet. I can't be still. I feel paranoid. I can't get my mind to stop running or whatever. But they don't want to give it a try. So yes, silence does terrify a lot of people. And I think it's because the fear of slowing down and tapping into your higher self. I think maybe that's what frightens them. Um, or just being still and just listening to receive. I think that frightens some people. But greetings to you. Thank you for joining and listening. I'm waiting for Sister Rose to reconnect to finish the discussion. And how are you today? If you want to put in the chat, Lonnie knows. Peace and blessings to you. Well, great. I'm happy to hear that you're doing well. So we're just waiting a moment for her to reconnect. But in the meantime, there's so many things that can be benefited from silence, like a talking fast, as she says, or having some time in your day where you're just completely silent. For me, it's the early morning hours. I'm the first person to wake up in my household and the first person to actually get out of bed. So I cherish that time. It's a sacred time for me in the early morning hours when it's quiet and still, and that's when I do a lot of my spiritual practices. Thank you. I do my prayers, my meditation, yoga in the morning, and I prefer to do it at that time because it's quiet. I feel like I can think better. I can stay focused. There's no distractions. And if you are someone that deals with a lot of anxiety, or if you're under a lot of stress, I definitely highly recommend having a time in your day where you can just completely be quiet and still. The more stressed you are, the more anxious you feel, please meditate longer. Meditation is a form of going in within the silence because you are still and you're quieting your mind, quieting your body. The deep breathing helps you to connect to your spirit and to quiet your mind down. Um, You can also have a time in the day where you just listen to soothing music, but you don't talk to anyone. That's another form um, of using the silence to heal and to restore you. So if you don't want to use meditation, you can use just like a music, but music, have a time in the day where you just listen to music, but you don't speak to anyone and you just listen to the music, allow the music to soothe you and calm your nerves. Do you think people are afraid of being silenced because they feel the message they murder? Yes, I think that too. I think some people, when they hear their higher self speaking to them or their intuition or God talking to them, they get frightened and they'll start to second guess themselves. That's an excellent question, too. Thank you for asking that. And a lot of people do say that they don't like the silence. They have to sleep with the TV on because that interferes with their dreams. They don't like the dreams that they have. They don't like being quiet. They and then some people are very high strung, very hyperactive, and they're always moving, always talking, and they have to have noise. And the silence for some reason, frightens them or makes them uncomfortable. And I do think that some people are afraid of the messages that they get, because I've heard some people actually say that. um for me, going into the silence is a part of the day that I feel like I have total control over. So the more um, I feel that I need to be alone and be in the silence, I will meditate longer or meditate more often. Thank you for asking that. Do you try, Lonnie knows, have you ever tried a talking fast or any other type of a silent retreat, or being, do you meditate? You do meditate, great. And have you experienced any benefits? I mean, what are some of the benefits you've experienced from meditation? Yes, I agree. It brings me to a calmness, and that it did that for me as well. Because when I first started meditating years ago, it was in response to being stressed out and feeling overwhelmed and anxious a lot. And I gave it a try, and it really helped me to release stress and to unwind. And then it became a practice that I did just to de-stress. And then when I learned about the healing benefits of meditation, I started doing it even more, and it just became part of my daily routine. Yes, you said, oh, great. You feel connected with my higher being. Absolutely. It can do that as well, because that aspect of us, a lot of us are not connected to. And when you do any kind of spiritual practice, whether it's prayer, meditation, chanting, yoga, whatever, it helps you to connect with your higher self, with the most high, and with the angels, the archangels, ascended masters, ancestors, everything. You can do that. And once you go into the silence, and um that's the best way to connect. It's just to be quiet, be still. All right, well, I am waiting and there's no response from Sister Rose. So we just ended the session a little early. I hope that was beneficial. I hope she was able to answer some people's questions, because I know that I often get questions about meditation. Um, as a meditation teacher and a yoga teacher, a lot of people are not there are a lot of skeptics out here when it comes to that. And so I invited her to share her journey because she had told me about her experience with the talk fast. For 7 days she just went without talking, to her family and to other people. And so I wanted her to share that with us in case someone else was interested, or if people had questions or interest in meditation. And Lonnie knows I would love if you could send me an email and perhaps join us here on Ask the Herbalist Hour, especially talking about meditation. And I'm going to put my email at the bottom of the screen instead of spelling it out. It should be there, astrahealingarts@yahoo.com. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you for your support. Thank you to anyone who's watching now or later. Many blessings to you all. I hope to see you next time. Yes, I'm so glad I got to see one of your lives, but I have to get back to work. Thank you for taking a break from your work to join us. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you and talking with you as well, beloved. Return to work, I hope, happier than before. Blessings to everyone. Peace and love, family. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.